welcome. My name is Errity Green, and this is Wise Woman Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on clarity about your purpose. So if you find that you enjoy this reading and this channel, I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new video pops up. Of course, if you want to get to know more about me and my work, you can check out those details below or find me at erritygreen.com, where I do offer personal intuitive readings on life, business, and beyond, as well as coaching programs primarily for those in positions of leadership. If you want to explore my other more fun, like just for fun, YouTube channel, you can check out Psychic True Crime. All of those details and more are listed below. So without further delay, I will place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from today. All right, so card pile 1. It seems like you've been on a search for your purpose, like maybe seeking for your purpose, wanting for your purpose, wondering what your purpose is, maybe confused by your purpose. And I think that it's probably something that's right in front of you, right underneath your nose. One of those situations where you might already even be living it, doing it, the whole you're already doing it kind of thing. And yet it evades you or eludes you because it is so obvious, and your mind wants to create confusion or create another obstacle or another challenge. And it feels like this could have to do with some kind of insecurity. You know, perhaps this is some kind of pattern of self-sabotage. Let me see what else is coming up here, because I think there's more and there's a deeper layer here. And we might tap into it throughout the remainder of the reading, but let me see. Okay, so the energy that you're in is, again, this seeking kind of energy of I don't know, and it's really confusing, and there's a lot of doubt, a lot of perplexing kind of energy, a lot of puzzlement, if that's a word. And like when you're in that energy, it's clearly not going to be clear. It's like instead shifting your energy, your perspective, your perception into an openness, this curiosity, this easygoing kind of playful, innocent question of what is my purpose, or what am I here to do? Or even fun questions like, if I were to be able to do anything, what would I do? Now, some of you might already, again, have an awareness about what you do or what you want, and this is just like an old pattern or a hungry ghost. But some of you may not have discovered yet what you call, you know, your life purpose, your big purpose, that big thing. And I think, again, it's already happening and underneath your nose, and you enter into that energy of searching or seeking or like trying to figure it out. When you enter into the energy of that, more of that playful, open curiosity, you're going to find that the answers come more smoothly. But what's interesting is it's not so much a matter of answers coming or clarity arriving. It's almost like you let go of the search altogether and you just kind of let it be. I know that might make some of you frustrated, or it might be annoying to hear, because it's like clarity on your purpose. Well, it doesn't even matter, does it? You know, but that tends to be how spirit operates anyway. It's like us humans, like, are we humans? We're like, what is it? What's the answer? And it's like, there is no answer. Like, there's just these endless paradoxes, and everything's a riddle, and everything's a metaphor, and nothing is what it seems, you know? But the very first thing coming through is you have been on this quest of really understanding yourself, of understanding your purpose, of understanding what you're here for. And it's almost like that answer eludes you. And so there is this gentle nudge, instead of like leaning in or leaning forward to find an answer, to figure it out, to more so lean back and just let things be and see what arises and comes through in that way. So let's see what else. Yeah, so some of you too, you can be, I don't want to say thrown off path, because I don't personally believe, nor am I getting the energy of like that it's possible to be completely thrown off path or thrown out of alignment. However, there are things that are closer in alignment with what we ultimately want for ourselves, and things that are further away. And it feels like some of you can get caught up in the conditioning, or what you see other people do, what you hear other people say. You can sort of be thwarted or thrown off path based on what it is that you're seeing. So something outside of you can throw you off path. I do feel like for some of you, it's the whole carrot in front of you kind of thing. So you might hear these big claims online, or these extraordinary claims, or all this sort of glamorized success, or get rich quick, overnight success kind of things. And you might get caught up in that and sort of subscribe to that, believe it. And your focus, your direction, your connection can be thrown off by that, because it's almost like, oh, oh, is that the easy way out? Oh, that will just be my purpose, because then I can make a shit ton of money. So like that kind of thing. But I also feel like in general that there is some kind of energy here of self-doubt or questioning or being puzzled because of something that you're seeing out here. So in general, it's like sort of like basically we have the devil card, but in another deck, so it's not the tarot deck. And so one way or another, you're being thrown off course by something that ultimately isn't true to you and is almost like an illusion. And so your confusion or your being perplexed about this may not be as real as you think. It seems like it happens when you are focusing on the wrong things and looking outside of you for answers, and assuming that something else is going to be your answer, like something else outside of you. Oh, that's the path. Oh, that's what I want. Oh, that's what I'm supposed to have. There might be more here. I think there's more energy that could be offered, but let's dive into the next card before I lose the message. And that is, huge part of what wants to come through for you today, card pile 1, is clearing all of that from your table. It's almost like you go to a buffet, like a restaurant, and there are 60 items on the table, and you almost get, confused. But it's more than that. It's like it's so big you can't even digest it. You're just like, a deer in headlights, and you can't move, and you don't know, and now you're confused. So for you, it's best to not have 60 things in front of you where things can throw you off or kind of get you off center. There's also this message here that's coming through, and I'm trying to catch all of them as they come up. You might be someone, you can check it out, what your human design is. There is nothing to me that's paramount and will tell us exactly who we are and give us all of our answers. However, tools like human design and astrology do help us to understand ourselves. You might be someone who has the will center undefined, to where you tend to find yourself through reflections. So through other people, that's in compare and contrast. That's how you are able to discern, okay, I want this, and oh, I don't want that, and okay, I definitely want this. But it's through those reflections you're able to find yourself. So some of you may identify as someone with an undefined will center, and or if you take the test, you'll be able to see that. That's not necessary to know, nor is it necessary for this reading. However, you might relate to that. You might connect to that, where it is challenging for you to truly find yourself on your own without another reflection. However, this kind of experience can become destructive such that you totally lose focus. So like you have those 60 entrees on the table, and now you can't even choose. You can't move forward. You don't know what to do. You're totally perplexed. You're totally confused, and now you're stuck and stagnating. So it's far better for you to have a totally clean table. And there's a number of things here, like I have an image of someone, of just being able to order exactly what you want, without looking at the menu, without knowing what they even have, but just sitting down and ordering, and or just sitting down at a clear table. It's almost like that's where more clarity is going to arise, when the table is clear for you. If you are out there looking at things and seeking for things and looking at other people's things, primarily this is going to feel kind of like social media related or internet related, where it's like we have all these things in front of our faces being dangled all day, every day, and we can kind of get lost in the sea of noise out there. And for card pile 1, that tends to be a challenge for you. You may not even realize it. I think most of you do, where you really need to clear off that plate, clear off that table, so you can gain clarity. The more space for you, the better. The more, I don't want to say the solitude of self, but solitude of mind, meaning no one's putting their hands in the bucket, no one's telling you what to do, no one's telling you their perspective, no one is telling you, like, ironically you're here listening to me, but I'm telling you the opposite. Clear off the table, no voices, like no one gets to tell you what to do or read your energy or tell you this or tell you that. It tends to throw you off, or you immediately jump kind of on that saddle. You're like, okay, at least I have something. But ultimately you want to start to parse out your own intuition and your own truth. Yeah, what's coming through this experience is being able to step into your true power. So first of all, anything that has been a loss to you or a disappointment feels like it wasn't something that was ultimately authentic for you or true for you. So if you have lost anything on the path of purpose, career, business, and or just anything in general in your life, you're going to find that those things that are inauthentic to you that don't have the foundation within your own heart and your own heart's desires, it's probably going to fall apart and it's not going to remain or stick around. So that's an important message. But there's something here about coming into your own power, your own knowingness, and determining your path, your purpose, your vision for yourself, and not letting any other voices or agents or influences have a say. I feel like you might be someone who will certainly let someone have the final say, let alone have a say at all. And what tends to throw you off most, again, is your mind, your self-doubt. And so for some of you, it's sort of the conditioning of the shiny lights, or, what is it? Shiny objects, flashing lights, or flashy lights kind of thing. That's what I call it. When people see these big claims or glamorized success and they're like, oh, that must be me, or that's what's meant for me. And, that tends to throw us off path more often than not, than actually be of help to us. There might be another message here. Give me a moment, please. Yeah, what wants to happen is a great release of this old energy, of this devil energy, of this addiction and compulsion to doubt, to self-doubt, to a lack of self-trust, to, again, falling for the external agents or listening to what anyone else or everyone else has to say. That wants to be cleared completely, so you can really own your own power, your own enoughness, and your own value. And there will be a greater sense of pride and accomplishment too when it comes to being able to, have achievements and experience accomplishments on your path, because it'll have been self-made, self-initiated, self-determined, as opposed to determined or given to you by somebody else. You really want this to be something that's true for you, otherwise it's not going to work out anyway, ultimately. Now, I did pull some extra cards today from an unusual deck. Usually I use oracle decks. I always put the oracle decks that I use in the comments for that day. I might just start making a full list of all the decks that I use generally, so I don't have to change every video. However, one of my decks is an unusual deck. It's called the ACT deck, and it's an acceptance and commitment therapy deck. So I come from applied behavior analysis. I was in the field for 12 years. I'm still certified as a board certified behavior analyst. And one of the sort of paradigms of thought or practices that we use, therapeutic philosophies, but more so in therapeutic or clinical settings is acceptance and commitment therapy. And so anyway, I have this deck. I love this deck. It's very practical in that it gives you an actual action step to use. So your action step for today it's called your patterns. It's about opening up. Pay close attention to what happens when difficult thoughts and feelings arise. What do you do in reaction? Why do you keep doing what you do? What do you get from it? So you might start exploring this pattern of self-doubt. You might start exploring this pattern of when you abandon yourself or disconnect from yourself to seek out other, or to even commit or become loyal to other over your own truth. What is it that makes you become curious about not taking your own word for it in the first place? What makes you think you aren't clear? What's helpful for you is becoming aware of this pattern, what tends to happen before and after. It also says, what do you get from it? And maybe it's a sense of certainty, and that's ultimately what you're seeking. So as long as you have that, you feel good. But now it's about control and certainty more than it is your actual, like anything of actual value, if that makes sense. Because it's really the illusion of certainty, the illusion of control. So maybe that's what you're seeking. So you might want to explore that pattern, start looking at how self-doubt comes up for you, as well as when you start to seek out external answers from yourself, or when you kind of take someone else's word for it, or when you kind of veer off path to own someone else's path. Your clarity about your purpose is all about, it's already here, it's actually already known, it's already revealed. You might already be living it, or it's in your face or underneath your nose, and the only thing that makes you think or believe otherwise is this pattern. So it's the pattern that needs to be cleared, as opposed to the clarity that needs to be discovered. So card pile 1, that's your reading. If this lands for you, I encourage you to like, subscribe, do press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new video pops up. If you want to get to know more about me and my work, intuitive readings, and more, you can check out those details below or visit erritygreen.com. Thank you, card pile 1. Okay, card pile 2. So let's talk clarity about your purpose. So this reminds me a little bit of card pile 1, but it is a little bit different. So somewhere I feel like you are facing limiting beliefs, not fully owning your value. You're not coming from a place of self-love or self-ownership, of owning your worth and value. And so I feel like we'll see how this applies to your purpose as you go. But usually, of course, what needs to come up does. There's a pattern here of faulty thinking. There's a pattern here of limited beliefs. There's a pattern here of not believing in yourself. Maybe that's your competency. Maybe that's your worth, your value. But something here is holding you back from seeing all that you truly are, all that you are truly capable of, really connecting with your truest potential. You are kind of seeing yourself from the human lens of limitation and or ego, where things can appear more limited or more wounded or more problematic, as opposed to seeing yourself with the eyes of divine love, where there is so much potential, so much more to happen for you. I mean, whatever you're experiencing now, whatever you haven't experienced, it's like you can experience so much bigger. There are no limits. You can break through every single limit that you currently have for yourself, or any ideas of limitation that you previously held for yourself. I feel like you have seen yourself break through some limits, and the message here is you can break through any limits, these limits and more. That the truth of you isn't what is confined or limited. The truth of you is infinite. And you're being asked to really recognize how powerful you are, how valuable you are, how loved you are. It actually moves me emotionally, just how loved you truly are, to be able to really recognize your own divinity, your own worth, your own value. That's going to be a huge key or a shift in supporting you to sort of take up space, and supporting you to fully kind of expand and open your wings, to fully be you, to shine. That's what wants to come through here. And I feel like your purpose likely has something to do about shining, letting yourself be seen, opening up to show yourself to the world, and really getting to know yourself. Because I feel like there's this message too of the parts in you that are still kind of hiding away, out of wounding, out of fear, for some people out of terror, grief, you name it, where there is sort of a cloaked, a closing of the self. And the more you can reveal yourself to yourself and be honest and transparent with yourself about those parts of you that might still be in hiding, the more you become self-aware, become honest with those parts, the more that those parts can be revealed, and the more that they can be demonstrated to the world, the more that you can be revealed in whole and sum to the world. So let me give you an example. So let's talk celebrities for a moment. So a lot of celebrities will enter the world stage, and this has to do with past life stuff, karmic stuff. There's a whole thing. So there's no thing about hierarchy or who's better or worse, or how one person can do it different or better than the other, but I want to give you kind of two distinctions. You know what I'm talking about here. So one celebrity may become a celebrity, let's say, and they're all for it, right? They can manage their fame well, they manage their fortune well, they tend to use their celebrity for a good purpose or good cause, they feel fulfilled emotionally, they feel like they are really establishing or fulfilling their greater legacy. And all in all, fame tends to be something that truly nurtures them, supports them, or at least nurtures and supports their greater purpose. And it doesn't become destructive or damaging or harmful to them. Instead, it is something that is supportive and brings about their larger purpose or their greater potential. Okay? It's a catalyst for that divine love that wants to be known, revealed through them, and then, of course, received by others. Now, there's another kind of celebrity that, whether it's past life stuff or this life stuff or whatever, where if they're still operating and they enter the celebrity scene with a lot of parts that haven't been looked at, a lot of kind of old wounding that hasn't been addressed or resolved, sometimes even known if it's not conscious. These can also be shadow aspects, things we aren't aware of at all, and or something that we've repressed or denied or rejected about ourselves. When we go into the world stage, all of that, those parts can then become destructive. Okay, so it's almost like the more we can reveal ourselves to ourselves, not only the better off we are in terms of being able to shine, right? And really put all parts of ourselves on the table and step into our fullest expression and totally be seen and received and really tap into that greater infinite divine potential. But it's like the more parts of us that we have closed off, that we haven't been willing to look at or didn't even know to look at, that's when you find celebrities that succumb to addiction or succumb to suicide. Right off the bat, I'm thinking people like Kurt Cobain and Britney Spears, that when they were placed into the fishbowl, they likely allegedly were battling too many demons such that it ultimately was something that was destructive for them as opposed to supportive for them. So all of that to say, I wanted to offer an example of what I mean by really looking at all parts of you and also recognizing where you might be limiting yourself. And I feel like it might be those parts. This is a pretty deep reading, card pile 2, but I feel like it's about healing, it's about release, it's about self-honesty and transparency. So you can look at all the parts of yourself that are still hiding, because really they're hiding from you, where you are, haven't known to look or haven't looked at those parts. And it's really about, once you're able to do that, you're really able to see the truth of your higher potential. Now that may not connect for every single one of you. Like I said, it's a very deep and if not specific reading. If that doesn't connect for you, this is about limiting beliefs mentally. So what you believe about yourself, what you believe is possible, what you don't believe is possible, and simply not seeing your own worth, value, and divinity and all that you have to offer. And remember, the more you can kind of contact those parts of you that are still in hiding and or still in wounding and or kind of occupying limitation, the more you can identify those parts, become aware of them, and bring them into consciousness, the more available you are for not only experiencing and embodying divine love in your highest potential, but then being able to share that with others and being able to occupy those larger potentials for yourself. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Yeah, so again, your harvest comes with the greater healing. So whatever it is that you're seeking, and for some of you, I feel like it's clarity. You're seeking, well, I mean, hello, clarity about your purpose. Of course, if you're listening to this, you're seeking that, but clarity about your purpose. But I feel like that will be revealed and be known the more that you do the healing work that we're talking about here. Looking at the parts of you where you don't believe that you are worthy or valuable. Looking at the parts of you that do occupy from a space of limitation, who don't believe in your own competence, and so on and so forth. A lot of the kind of parts that we've been talking about now. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're like, girl, you were talking way over my head, I have plenty of other videos on this channel. I would check those out that might resonate with you to kind of see how you might gain clarity from there. And of course, you can also seek me out for a personal reading to discover any kind of shadows or blocks or parts that might need to be, would best serve you to know and to become aware of. Excuse my hair, I haven't washed it and I need to, but I try to keep the color in as long as I can. But I feel like there's a deeper subconscious healing that wants to come through for you, card pile 2, in terms of clarity about your purpose, such that then everything can become clear. But it's when you're operating in a place of unconsciousness in a lot of these areas, and it might not be a lot of areas, but it might be enough areas to where it kind of like the lights are kind of dim or the lights are out. It's going to be hard to gain clarity, and what wants to come through is greater divine love for those parts of you and for you as a whole, so you can really shine and step into your greater potential. Yeah, all of this is going to come to an end. The healing work, if you haven't done the healing work, you are being encouraged to now. Perhaps it is already underway. I feel like for a healthy majority of you, this is already underway, and this is just reminding you or telling you or affirming for you that you're on the right path and you're doing the right things in order to see all of this through toward greater clarity and embodiment of your purpose and potential. But for a lot of you, this difficult chapter is coming to an end and your big vision is revealed. The insight, the breakthrough comes. If it's not just for some of you, it's not just the clarity of what it is that you want to know. For some of you, it's the full harvest. So some of you have been on a path for a while, maybe kind of trudging along and doing all the things and maybe not seeing the fruits of your labor. And as this deeper healing is coming to a close, you're going to be able to sort of reap the fruits of your labor. You're finally going to be able to see the reward, the harvest for all of your efforts and everything that you've done so far. So clarity on your purpose, it's going to become clear as day the more that you're able to come into a place of divine healing or divine love within all parts of yourself or through all parts of yourself. And we talked about a little bit about what some of those things can be. Again, I would look at some of previous videos on fear, on limiting beliefs, on inner child that support you to do some deeper shadow work so that you might gain any more clarity that you might need specifically. But ultimately, this healing is what's going to bring about the clarity or the harvest that you seek around your purpose. And that winter's end is here, or at least on its way. As you are completing this healing journey, you're bringing about this chapter to an end, and that's when that harvest comes or the clarity comes. Now, I am using a different deck today. It's this deck. Usually I put up all my oracle decks on the description. This one's a little bit different, so I'm sharing it. It's based on acceptance and commitment therapy. I was a behavior analyst for 12 years. I'm still certified. Acceptance and commitment therapy is a therapeutic philosophy that I absolutely love. You can look it up and Google it if you want to, or you don't have to, but it gives you very specific practical action steps. So I wanted to use this deck today to support you. So, criticism isn't critical. Notice your tendencies to push harder, self-criticize, and be harsh. More effort doesn't always equal better outcomes. Take one difficult situation you're working through and practice accepting yourself. So I feel like what this is saying here, aside from what it says at first glance, is it's the part of us that are sort of still in darkness or in wounding or in limitation that have to push hard or force a result in order to experience one. When we're operating in divine love, more or less all things come easy, all things land, things are materialized or manifested out of thin air. So the harder that you're working, that's a sign that it may not be something that's true for you energetically yet, so you're having to compensate or overcompensate through your physical action, through sort of your practical action steps. But there should be a nice ease of beingness and being in your own energy and just allowing things to manifest. There should be an ease with that, in addition to the action steps that you take. So anywhere where you're not finding, you're able to just relax and experience the fruits of your labor all on their own. That's a sign that you're operating from unconsciousness or limitation, and there's an opportunity for a breakthrough there. And what this card is suggesting specifically is using acceptance as your healing philosophy here. So with a lot of the subconscious work that we're talking about, it could be a situation, again, of getting to know those parts, getting to know their needs, their motives, as well as offering yourself self-compassion, giving yourself permission, letting yourself be, letting yourself let go, giving yourself permission to feel or to grieve. So there's also a self-compassion workbook. I think it's called Mindful Self-Compassion or something. So you might explore that too. So card pile 2, you're in a space of deep healing right now. It's either well underway. Some of you might be guided into it, but I feel like it's well underway for many of you, which is why you might not have full clarity around your purpose. Once you are fully embodying this more so renewed energy or renewed embodiment after this clearing takes place, your purpose, the clarity and or the harvest is going to become very clear to you. So card pile 2, if you enjoyed this reading, I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you can receive a notification every single time a new video pops up. If you want to get to know more about me and my work, you can check out those details below or at erritygreen.com. Thank you, card pile 2. Okay, card pile 3. We are talking about clarity around your purpose. So I feel like you're going through a shift, a rebirth. This is just a fertile time for you where something new is being born. Something new wants to come through, a new chapter, a new experience, a new paradigm. As we grow and evolve, we can be like snakes. We can shed old skins. We can be sort of like a chameleon or the caterpillar that turns to the butterfly, and it's allowing this renewal to take place because that renewal is what wants to bring you into sort of your next level or your next chapter or the next thing. And when we hold on to the old, whatever that might be, it can take the form of a job, a relationship, a career, a home, a location, a particular habit or a particular perspective. When we hold on to the old, it's very difficult for this energy to come through and for clarity to manifest. Things aren't obvious when we are seeing from the mind of the old in a world that could be new for us, right? So it's almost like someone who is very depressed, and I'm not saying you were this, but hear me out on the example. Someone who's very depressed and can't really see the glimmer of hope in things and is just really challenged to be optimistic or hopeful or positive. And then you bring them, let's say, to the beach or majestic view or on a vacation, and even though they're in new surroundings, they're unable to see it. They find a reason to be upset, or they're unable to fully appreciate it, or they're still carrying around so much sadness or numbness. And so it's like that kind of energy that even if you have new surroundings, you're unable to fully experience that if you are holding on to old energy anywhere, inside or out. So this rebirth wants to come through for you. And I feel like the clarity around your purpose becomes clear the more you shed these old layers and shed these old skins and you let go completely. Not like half in, half out, toe in the water. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. How much is this going to pay off? That kind of thing. Hey, I know that story very well, so I hear you and I feel you. But it's saying the clarity that you seek happens when you fully release, let go, and face forward without looking back. And that's tough. So let's see what else is here. Card pile 3. Yeah. So your impulses to remain in your comfort zone, remain safe, remain the same. For some of you, this is going to be impulses around other people, places, or things that you don't want to have to let go of. And there's a part of you that might be sort of emotionally mature, and there's no judgment here. This is about just getting to know ourselves. All of us have all of these things that I talk about, but they're just coming up for you. Card pile 3. You might have a part of you that's sort of emotionally immature, such that it still relies on other people, places, or things to fulfill it, for its needs to be met, for it to feel good, for it to feel whole, for it to feel complete. And so that part of you, more or less your inner child or your inner wounded child, it's really difficult to let go of the things that have once fulfilled it or met a need for it, because it might be a situation where this child, this inner child, and was actually a child at some point in your life, clearly was emotionally malnourished or deprived, or their needs were not met in some way, such that when it does find something that meets its need, even if it's settling for scraps or just getting enough or having to compromise on some of its values, it's willing to stick around because at least it's getting something, and something's better than nothing. So there might be a part of you that's emotionally immature, that doesn't feel complete or has only felt a semblance of feeling complete with these old things around, such that it's difficult for it to let go, for you to let go of old people, places, or things, even habits that don't necessarily serve where you're headed or where you want to go, because, this is paying off in some way. At some level, you're having a need met, but this part of you cannot grow up if you're still holding on to those old things, and you can't step into your new chapter. So clarity around your purpose is letting yourself come into that state of empowered adult where you are moving forward and releasing completely, and coming into resolution with all the things that you might still want to hold on to. You might make a list, you might contemplate or meditate or journal on all the things that you're still holding on to, that you felt a call or an inkling to release, and finding a way to get really supremely honest with yourself in a compassionate, safe space where it's neutral. And so, because you don't want to be answering to compulsions or judgments or the inner critic, where it's like, you got to get rid of this because you have to be perfect, and that has to go too, because that doesn't support our highest potential or our greater health and well-being, and it ultimately kind of serves to kind of shoot ourselves in our own foot, where it's like we're taking one step forward but 2 steps back. So it's more of just coming into complete neutrality and seeing where you've genuinely been called to release something. And a sign or two that might be helpful is looking at sort of what doesn't make you feel good, what doesn't feel sort of high vibe or on your vibe, but what really ultimately isn't really cutting it or doing it for you, but you might still do it anyway because it might meet a short-term need, might give some short-term gratification, kind of give you a fix, but it's ultimately not serving your higher vision and values. So taking a look at those things that are sort of quote-unquote low vibe or not on vibe for you, looking at those ways that are things that don't serve your greater vision and your greater values, and being completely honest with yourself. And then taking a look at how that part of you that is emotionally immature and still requiring support, that couldn't just, you could be parenting that part and supporting that part of you on your own, as opposed to like doing that more sovereignly or getting that support, as opposed to seeking it out in things that no longer serve you, and then you're holding yourself back from your fuller potential, from what wants to come through for you, for the clarity especially that you seek about your purpose. Because a more expansive state of being wants to come in to place for you, and this includes greater abundance, maybe even success, recognition, accolades, things like that. But it does require you to leave behind a lot of the things that have once held you back, that are associated with a different version of you. It's just a previous chapter. If you're in chapter 20, but you're still kind of keeping your foot in chapter 19, chapter 20 can't fully be revealed for you. Yeah, so what wants to clear is all these blocks in the way of your greater abundance, all the blocks in the way of your certainty, of your clarity, of your greater harvest. And it's a matter of listening to your intuition and clearing out and what's a way to really practicalize that? That's not a word, but it will be right now. It's to look at your values, look at what you ultimately truly want for yourself, and then sift through your life. Let that be your filter. See what things match up to that and what doesn't, and the things that don't must go. So if you value health and wellness and you're still engaging in unhealthy, destructive behavior habits around that, that's something to release and get the support to release if you need it. If you value healthy, fulfilling, warm, happy relationships or a happy, healthy home, and you don't have that, that's something to look into or get the support in releasing. so on and so forth, of just being completely honest with yourself about where you're at, where you're headed, and what doesn't match up, so you can clear that and come into a greater knowing, if not a greater harvest of your purpose. Coming into your full power that is sovereign, that doesn't really require anyone or anything else, because this is really about sovereignty and your rebirth from that place of sovereignty, of maturity, of fulfillment, of peace, of contentment. Now, the final card that I'm using today for like a practical action step comes from the ACT deck. I was in the field of behavior analysis for 12 years. I'm still certified as a behavior analyst. One of our therapeutic philosophies is acceptance and commitment therapy. You can look that up if you want to know more about it. And what I like about it is that it gives you a very practical action to take. So what we have is we learn the hard way. Pain is inevitable in life. What have you learned from your struggles? When pain shows up again in your life, how do you want to handle it? So I feel like the we learn the hard way is most relevant here, where it's like, where are we keeping life hard? Where are we still making it hard? Where are we choosing struggle, strife, challenge, or suffering? Where are we still holding on to those things that are ultimately unhealthy, dysfunctional, destructive, or unsupportive of what we truly ultimately want for ourselves? Because those are the things that want to go, to be released, so you can find that full clarity that you seek, if not greater harvest and abundance for what you've already worked toward. So card pile 3, that is your reading. If you enjoyed this reading, I encourage you to like, subscribe, do press the bell icon. That way you receive a notification every single time a new video pops up. If you want to get to know more about me and my work, you can check out those details below or at erritygreen.com. Thank you, card pile 3.